Hey guys, so I figured that we could go over some stuff together. Well, not together, but I figured I would make a video what we're going to review in class. So your class is doing a quiz today. You're doing it at home, and the in-class kids are doing the quiz as well. And so we're going to do a review in class, but I figured I could just record the review for you now. If after watching this you still need some help, feel free to come for ACT Lab today from 105 to 155, and I can help you further. So this assignment that I'm going to use for the review, I'm going to do the evens on here, or most of the evens on here. This is something that we did when we first learned end behavior. So if you have it and you might want to take it out, I'll post it to this to this assignment today so you could print it if you need it. So remember that when you're doing end behavior, you always want to use this chart right here to help you figure it out. So remember, it goes by odd or even degree or positive or negative leading coefficient. So if you have something like number 2, now I just want to let you know that your quiz is just like these problems. It's set up the same exact way even. So there are 2 where you're given equations like this, and then there are 2 where you're given a graph. So let's look at the first one. We really want the sign of the leading coefficient. So the sign of the leading coefficient here, remember leading coefficient in this case is -1. It's whatever's in the front. So the sign is negative. And then for degree, we really want to know, like, is it odd or is it even? So first you have to identify the degree. The degree is the highest exponent that you have in the polynomial. So the highest exponent here is 2. So this has a degree of 2, which is an even number. Once you figure out that it's even, negative, or whatever it may be, that's when you look at the chart. So even, negative is the bottom. This is even, negative. They both point down. So you go back to this. I like to just draw it both down. So if they're both pointing down, both of your end behaviors are going to go to negative infinity. If you're not sure why, think about as x approaches negative infinity, that means the left side of the graph. See how it's pointing down? So that would be negative infinity. And then as x approaches positive infinity, that's the right side of the graph, it also points down. So they're both negative. So there's the first one. Okay, let's look at number 4. Before I do number 4, it says to rewrite in standard form. Remember, standard form is highest degree to lowest degree. So this is going to go first. So we're going to have -2x to the third. You don't have to do this on any of the ones on your quiz. Okay, so that's standard form. So now sign of the leading coefficient, again, is negative. This one has a degree of 3. It's the highest exponent here, which is odd. So odd, negative, you go to your chart. Odd, negative. The left side is up and the right side is down. So like this. So now when we're doing our end behavior, as x approaches negative infinity, so the left side of the graph points up to positive infinity. As x approaches positive infinity, the right side points down to negative infinity. Number 5 is also odd, negative, so same thing. Okay, so that's what you do when you have an equation. Look at the leading coefficient, positive or negative. Look at the sign, the degree, even or odd. Look at the chart, figure it out. Okay, now we have ones like 8 and 10 where you're given a graph and you're asked the sign of the leading coefficient and is the degree odd or even. So to figure that out, take a look at where your arrows, where your ends are pointing. These are both pointing up. So then again, you look at your chart, which one of these 4 graphs shows both pointing up? No, 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 no. Here it is, even, positive. So it's going to be an even degree, positive leading coefficient. So then you write that here, positive leading coefficient and even. And then for the end behavior, you just look at it. These are both going up, so they're both going to be positive infinity. But as you can see, the left side is up and the right side is up. So they're both positive infinity. Number 10, the left side is up and the right side is down. So look at the chart. Left side up, right side down is this one. Odd, negative. So negative, odd. And then if you look at the end behavior, the left side points up to positive infinity. The right side points down to negative infinity. So that's the end behavior. So there's two of each of those, two equations, two graphs. Then on your quiz, there's one problem where I give you a graph, and then I give you a bunch of intervals, and you have to tell me, is it positive, negative, increasing, or decreasing? I'm going to go over that here. However, there's also one like this on your quiz where you have to write the intervals. So the biggest mistake that kids are making, so my other class already took this quiz, and the biggest mistake that they made is they used the y values for their intervals. For these top four, positive, negative, increasing, decreasing, you want to use intervals. Intervals are x values only. So you're only using these numbers. Don't even look at these. Cover them up if you need to. I don't know. We don't care about the y values right now. The only time you use the y value is when you're doing turning points and maximums and minimums, because then you're giving a full-on ordered pair. Intervals are like from this x value to this x value. So it's positive anytime it's above the x-axis. So this is the only part of it that's above the x-axis. It starts being positive. It starts going above the x-axis at 3. That's a 3. Does it ever stop being positive? It doesn't. So this is infinity. Remember, this is negative infinity. So it's going to keep being positive all the way to infinity. So the first one, positive interval, would be from 3 to infinity. Okay, negative. Where is it negative? It's negative basically everywhere else, with the exception of this point right here that's on the x-axis. So we're going to have two negative intervals. We're going to have this one and then this one. So this interval here, when does it start being negative? It's always negative all the way to negative infinity. So it starts off at negative infinity. And then it stops being negative right at this x value at negative 1. Whoops. And then my other negative interval, again, is at negative 1. And it goes from negative 1 all the way to 3. So from negative 1 to positive 3. And that's my second negative interval. Okay, I'm going to erase what I just put on here, and we're going to do increasing, decreasing now. Increasing is when it's going up. We still don't need these y values. Increasing is when it's going up from left to right. Decreasing is when it's going down. So if you're to put your pencil, or even like if you don't have this printed out, put your finger on the graph on the screen and trace it from left to right. See how it's tracing it. Is my pencil moving up or down? It's moving up. Then see how it switches direction? That's a turning point. And now I'm moving down. That's decreasing. This was increasing. I stopped here. That's a turning point. Now I'm decreasing. I stop here, another turning point, and now I'm increasing again. So that's an easy way to tell when it's increasing or decreasing. Trace the graph. So now we need to identify the intervals. Remember, we're only using the x values. So it started increasing on the left from negative infinity, right? So if this picture, this is going to keep going on forever. So from negative infinity, and then it stopped increasing here at negative 1. Even though that's supposed to be negative 1. I know I wrote all over this, but that's negative 1. So we're going to say from negative infinity to negative 1, it was increasing. And then where else is it increasing? So then it started to decrease, and then it started to increase again here. We don't want this value. We don't care about that value. So sometimes you have to like sketch it. Looks like it's at about 2. This x value is 2. So from 2 to infinity. So starting here at 2. So we're going to say it's increasing from 2 to infinity. Okay, and then there's one decreasing interval. It's from here to here. So between negative 1 and 2, it's decreasing. Do you guys see that? We're using the x values here. So from negative 1 to 2. So negative 1 to 2. So that's the trickiest part. Just remember, you're only using the x values from what number to what number. Turning points are pretty easy. That's a turning point. This is a turning point. It's anytime it changes directions. Turning points and maximums and minimums, we want ordered pairs. So you want x and a y. So this one is going to be negative 1, 0. And this one is going to be about 2. I drew all over this graph. I guess it looks like maybe about -9 or -9.5. So about 2, -9.5, we'll say. Those are only 2 turning points. These 2 turning points become your maximums or your minimums. So one of them is a maximum, high point. The other one is a low point, minimum. So max is -1, 0, minimum to -9.5. So those are actual ordered pairs. And the last part is end behavior again. So I'm going to there's not really a lot of room there. I'm going to do it down here. Remember, it's just as x approaches -infinity, f of x approaches what? As x approaches +infinity, f of x approaches what? So as x approaches -infinity, the left side of the graph, where is it going? It's pointing down. So that's going to be -infinity. And then as x approaches +infinity, that's as it moves to the right. Where are we going? Up to positive. And so that's it. That's one of each type of question pretty much. I mean, there is one other section, like I said, where I give you intervals and you have to tell me positive, negative, increasing, decreasing. But if you can do this part, you can certainly do that part. If you are confused at all, please come for ACLAB 105 to 155, and I can help you then. You can also come, oh no, not during advisory because I have an advisory, just kidding. So just during ACLAB from 105 to 155, or email me something. All right, so that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys tomorrow.